history. We're making history in the United States Senate. We're making history in Congress. Now we want to make history in Hillsborough. We want to make history in Manville. We want to make history in Bedminster. We want to make history in Bernards Township. We want to make history in Bernardsville. We want to make history in the county of Somerset. We have amazing candidates running for freeholder. You'll get to hear from them soon, but the senator, as you can imagine, has gone way out of his way from Washington, D.C. to come visit us here in our lovely home. Now, I need to tell you a couple things. He refused to play ping pong with me. You guys know it's because I beat him in bowling, right?
We got the video to prove it.
We're still discovering whose history is revisionist. But what is true is that Senator Cory Booker, way before he was a senator, has been a tremendous friend to Somerset County. He's been here every time we needed him, and we all need to thank him for that. He's the guy, when Zenat and I first took over and had a completely empty checkbook, and we found ourselves facing an election season that was dominated by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Republican dollars, we called then Mayor Cory Booker and said, can you help us out? And it took about 15 minutes, I think, before he said, not only I'll send you bodies, and I'll send you money. And they were there. And for that, we will be eternally grateful. And he's going to be the guy we celebrate when we, in fact, turn this county blue. For now, what he's been doing, besides being supportive of the county, is doing what we need done in Washington. This guy is utterly amazing. I know you guys have been watching him, so he's not just going around taking selfies of himself and all of the other senators. He's actually making friends with them, and he's figuring out a way to reach across the aisle to do the things that need to get done in Washington. He cares about us, and he's brought that caring down to D.C. and is making a difference in all kinds of areas. Women's health, the giveaways, the things we know about, but entrepreneurship and small business. And he's put himself down there in a place where he can actually affect change by reaching across the aisle and making people understand that it's about the people's business. But he can tell you better than I who he is. I wanted to just tell him how much I love him and how much, Cory, I said before, if you were just a little bit younger. With that said, let me just point out, because, let's see, Tony Pranzatelli is running for freeholder, right behind me, and Joan Pritchard running for freeholder. They're both tremendous people. We're going to hear from them a bit later, but for now, my dear friend, my favorite senator. How you doing, honey?
All right. So I just want you to know your chairperson is one of my favorite people in all of politics, all across the country. She's got guts, she's got chutzpah, she's got audacity, she's got really good looks. If you were only a little bit older. But I'm so encouraged by her leadership. And I know you kept saying I'm going to talk about me, but I'd really rather talk about the spirit that I find in this county. In the years I've been coming down, trying to be of help in any way possible, I've been so encouraged by a group of folks who really are determined to make change. And remember, change is not just party change. It's not like trying to make people Democrats. That's really not the mission of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has always been this party that understood we have a great declaration of independence, but the story of America is this understanding of interdependence, that we all need each other, that in fact we are stronger when we're together, that the lines that divide us, race, religion, socioeconomic status, are nowhere near as strong as the ties that bind us. And that when we understand these common aspirations, that when investing in the dignity and the well-being of our seniors, when investing in the education and the opportunity of our children, that when others succeed, we succeed as well. It's this understanding that we must be a party about something, not the party of me, but the party of we. And I've been really inspired by Democrats literally all over the country that do get this, that don't have this sort of venal, negative, partisan look at the world, but more about how can we make our country better. I went out to Washington with that attitude. I said, look, this is not about left or right for me. It's about how do I move this country forward. And I'm willing to meet and work with anybody, anywhere, from any party, if it means making New Jersey better or our country better. And so I find interesting partnerships. You know, I set out with this idea of finding common ground. I've been asking every one of my Republican colleagues to have dinner with me, lunch with me, meet with me somehow. And I've had the most interesting dinners you can imagine, with everybody ranging from Ted Cruz, which was very interesting, this Texas meat eater and a vegetarian from New Jersey, really interesting, to even the other night I was with John McCain. And it's not because I'm trying to just get along and go along with them. I'm trying to find substantive things to work together to make New Jersey better. Let me give you an example. We sent our veterans off to war. Somehow we found out all this money to send people off to war, to battle overseas, and then remarkably, when they come home, suddenly you don't have the money to do what's right, to help them with their disabilities, to help them find jobs. And here in New Jersey, I started finding all of these traumatic brain injury centers. Some of our veterans who have been severely injured, had damage done to their brains, have problems walking and speaking and conducting the normal everyday activities that many of us take for granted. And so as soon as I saw that this funding was running out for our veterans, for people that fought for us on the front lines of wars, I said, this is crazy. But remember, there's no Democratic or Republican way to win a fight. So I found a Republican colleague, a guy named Heller from Nevada, and said, hey, let's partner on this and try to get something done for New Jersey residents, for your residents as well. And thank God, just before I left, we got the legislation included in a larger bill and got it passed. And now hundreds and hundreds of our veterans won't be denied critical services. And here in New Jersey, centers will stay open. And so to me, this is the understanding that there's win-win ways of doing things. I went down to Cumberland County and found hundreds of families facing foreclosure. And we said, wait a minute, there's got to be a way for us to work with the FHA, the Federal Housing Association, to find a way to help them out. And we found, again, a creative way to bring people together to solve problems. We got third-party buyers with their mortgages, got the families opportunities to stay in their housing and even write down their principal at the same time that the third party could actually still make a profit on the mortgage. It's creative thinking to help with the dollars and cents of making our country work. And so that's really what this is about. I've had the privilege of serving as everything from a council person all the way up now to a United States Senator. And the themes are just the same. It takes determined, unyielding, indefatigable people who are committed to doing extraordinary things to make real on the promise of America. I'm here right now, I say this over and over again. I'm standing here right now, as we all are, because of incredible Americans, everyday Americans, that were willing to do extraordinary things to make real on the promise of this democracy. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for my father, who was born poor, like many of our ancestors were. My father, in fact, said, son, I couldn't afford to be poor. I was just Po, P-O. I couldn't afford the letters. I was a Po boy from North Carolina. And it was because people in that town saw that every single child holds infinite potential. In fact, that this country's greatest natural resource is not oil or coal or gas, it's our children. And the genius of one child can revolutionize society. And so they wouldn't let this one kid fail. And they helped my father out. Families took my dad in under their roof when his mother couldn't take care of him. When it was time for him to go to college, he had no tradition of college in his family, but people in that town intervened, said, you're going to go to school. He said, I have no money. And they actually took collection up in church to get my dad enough money to pay his first semester's tuition in college and then work his way through. What's the return on investment for those dollars that were put in that collection plate? And this is what we as Democrats understand, that you have to make investments to grow this economy. In fact, Republicans used to understand this. Think about this, the infrastructure that we need, crumbling roads and bridges. Every dollar invested in infrastructure creates $1.44 in economic growth. Eisenhower understood that, helping us build our highways. But now in New Jersey, we have crumbling infrastructure and backwards infrastructure that's eating up our society. In fact, I know right now that just even how we land planes, we have such poor aviation infrastructure that our planes will use about 10% of their gas just circling and waiting to land when it comes to landing planes. And so my father said it's that activism when he was in college. People who understand that investments produce returns. Investments in people produce great returns. That's why my father said it was amazing to him in the South, where the sit-in movement started. My father said he was in college and all this activism, blacks and whites, Christians and Jews, lining up to make this country live up to its promise. In Washington, D.C., I don't care what your background is, if you're Irish, if you're Italian, if you're Jewish, if you're a woman. There was a time that corporate America didn't want you. And my father and mother found themselves at a time that corporate America wasn't hiring blacks. But again, it was activists like those around here right now that fought to give my parents a fair shot so that they could compete in corporate America, and they did well. Even when my family bought their house here in New Jersey, they wouldn't, in Bergen County, back in 1969, there's places they wouldn't sell homes to black families, and it was activists like people here that gave my family a shot and helped them buy their first house, fight a court case to be the first black family in an integrated town. And I tell you that story because this is the consistent truth of what it takes to make our country real. It's that sacrifice, it's that struggle, it's the willingness to serve and the willingness to lead, the willingness to take on challenges that other people say are impossible, the willingness to dream bigger about your neighborhood, your town, your county, your state, your nation, that, hey, we can do better than this. And I'm not just willing to sit back and say it, to get caught up in what I call a state of sedentary agitation, when you're sitting on your couch and you're upset about the way the world is, but you're not willing to get up and do something about it. This is what is exciting about what's happening here in this county, is there's a whole bunch of good people who know we could be doing better for our neighbors, for our communities, for our county. And that's why I'm really happy about these two freeholder candidates here. Think about this, and this is what I love about Peg. She gets up, she fights, she gets knocked down. She gets up, she fights, she gets knocked down. And every time she gets knocked down, she seems to get more determined than ever before that she's going to win and she's going to break through. And she knows that's the reason why is because she's got a great team around her that keeps getting a little bigger and a little stronger. And now we've got two freeholder candidates, and I'm so excited about both of these guys. I like Tony a lot because his haircut is almost perfect. Almost perfect haircut. I think you go a little faster if you put the wind resistance down there. But Tony and Joni are standing up and saying, look, we want to serve. We want to lead. We know we can push and press a vision that is greater for our communities. And that's what inspires me. And so I'm here to say I'm ready to fight and be a part of this. I believe, actually, in this freeholder race, we can win. And I got a lot of skin in this game. Because in my senatorial race, we lost this county by about 700 votes. That's all we lost by. And it just so happens that your last freeholder race, your candidates lost by less than 1,000 votes too. So I think we're all in this together. And I'm not a guy that likes to lose. I'm kind of a competitive guy here. And so what I'm looking forward to doing for the next 75 days is to working with you to help make this situation we can win. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret that I know about this county. We actually have the numbers already to win. The challenge is actually getting the people out and getting them to the polls. And that's what comes, the only way to do that is really foot soldiers. Just like my father said in college, it was foot soldiers for justice, freedom rides, marches, and that's what it's got to be now. The cause is no less urgent than it has been for our ancestors. And so my hope and prayer is everybody who has contributed today to the county party organization, is that we all think about it. Sometimes it's just a little bit. I always say that the biggest thing you can do in any day is a small act of kindness, decency, or love. And if everybody here thinks, you know what, I'm going to put in 4 more hours of volunteering, 5 hours to hit the phone banks, I'm going to put in a day, a weekend, just to try to make a difference, and we're going to win. So I want to end with I love telling these stories for my first 10 months in the Senate, because every day or every week I get something funny that happens to me that I just say, I can't believe this. It's like, this has been the greatest privilege of my life to serve the state that I love. And I've been crisscrossing the state really nonstop, trying to find ways to help people, to partner with folks, whether it's just yesterday up in Paterson, New Jersey, working with women on nurse-family partnerships. One of the best investments a taxpayer can make is helping an at-risk mother through a nurse-family partnership. It actually saves a return on investment, that ROI for taxpayers. Every dollar invested saves about $5 in taxpayer costs, saving emergency room visits and other problems. So everywhere from Paterson, New Jersey, down to Atlantic City, where I was last week, meeting with the mayor there, trying to help them with transitioning people in these casinos that are closed to new opportunities. Wherever there's a challenge around New Jersey, I want to be. But I tell you, I love the chance now to be a senator and have that privilege of running around the state. But I'm going to end with just the story of my first 2 days in the United States Senate. So I get down there, And you all don't, I don't know if you remember this, but Chris Christie gave me a special election. It was, what was it, like a week before his election. It was very important that we had that week. Only cost $30 million. It's the most expensive gift I've ever gotten.
Well, you're a special guy.
And so I think that somebody timed it just because I would be sworn in on the day, the auspicious day that I was sworn in. I don't know if you all know this, but I started my Senate career on that auspicious day of Halloween. So October 31st, I'm sworn in as United States Senator. Joe Biden tells me to put my right hand on the Bible, raise, to my left hand on the Bible, raise my right hand. And I'm thinking that he was going to do some kind of trick or treat kind of thing, like call me Cory, but after that, you know, my mom grabs me by the hand, and excuse me, this was actually right before, and she says to me, you know, Cory, this is such an ornate place. Don't get carried away with all this grandeur. Do not forget why you were sent here in the first place. There are challenges in your state. You've got to fight for them, and always remember that the title doesn't make the man has to make the title. And then, you know, they don't give you an orientation when you come in the middle of the Senate. They kind of just throw you in there. So I didn't have people telling me, you know, all the ins and outs. I sort of had to scramble to find my way alone. And one of the things they didn't really tell me is where the bathrooms were. So I'm sitting in caucus meeting on my first hours in the Senate, and I'm drinking too much iced tea, and I have to go to the bathroom. And so I get up to leave, and now I'm saddled with two problems. One, I'm an elected official. Two, I'm a man. So I definitely don't want to ask for directions. And so I'm looking around for where the restrooms are in these amazing hallways. And just as the urgency is growing and I'm getting frustrated, I have no idea if maybe they don't use the bathroom in the Senate. I don't know. And then from behind me, I get this call from one of the legends in the United States Senate. You have to understand, there are people that have been in the United States Senate and they're still there since I was in grade school and high school. And there's a lot of these folks, when you get in the elevator, even if they're not in your own party, it's such an awesome privilege to be with them. And one guy I always get into an argument with, because he says, call me by my first name, I'm your colleague. And I said, you're not my colleague, you are Senator. And he says, don't call me Senator, okay, I'll call you Chairman. And that's Senator Rockefeller, who's this legend in the United States Senate from West Virginia. He's made profound contributions, one of the greatest fighter for the underdog that I've ever seen. And so suddenly I'm looking for the bathroom. I hear from behind me somebody call, Cory! And I turn around, and there is Senator Rockefeller. And I look at him in my state of urgency, and he goes, you're looking for the bathroom. And like, this guy's a genius. And then I had to go through my mind thanking God in every language I knew. Gracias a Dios, Baruch Hashem. And so he walks over to me, and there's all these little hidden rooms in the Senate, little hideaways and everything like that. It's kind of a cool place, and I hope that as you guys come down, you'll reach out to my office so we can give you tours, show you around, meet with you, and the like. And he comes over, and there's a hidden door right there. He opens up his keys and opens the door, and boom, there it is, the most beautiful bathroom I've ever seen in my life. And it wasn't really that beautiful, but I just really had to go, so it looked really good. Close the door, and then I come out afterwards, and he's still there. And I look at this guy with his piercing eyes and his distinguished face, and he says, Cory, it is really good that you are here. And I try to say thank you, and then he goes, no, actually, Cory, it's really important that you are here. And I want to tell you this right now. At that moment, I just felt so good to know that I was appreciated, that my unique presence in the United States Senate, remember this, I am the 21st American in the history of this country to ever go straight from being a mayor directly to the United States Senate. I'm the 4th African American ever elected to the United States Senate. And I'm one of the rare people to fill that very noble caucus, the bald caucus in the United States Senate. But I tell you all of this to say simply to everybody here on this beautiful evening when a lot of other people are doing a lot of other things, you all are focused on leadership. You're focused on service. You're focused on improving your community, your town, your county, the state, and this nation. You know that nothing that is truly worthwhile is easy. That we are a nation that has done hard all the way. That we have forged from the most difficult furnace. We have come up the most difficult, rough side of a mountain. We have made a way out of no way. We are an exceptional people. But that tradition can't end with our parents or our grandparents. It must be continued. There is a lot at stake to protect our heritage, to acclaim the unfinished business of our communities. And that's why I just want to say to everybody here that it is good that you are here. It is important that you are here. And I'm proud to be standing and working with you. Thank you.
Senator Cory Booker, we agree with Senator Rockefeller. It is good that you are there. I think the senator has a few more minutes to walk around and say hello to a few people. So anybody who hasn't met him yet, please accost him on his way out. And after he leaves, we'll continue the program.
I'd like to dedicate this song to the senator and all the supporters. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all the obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone.
You guys, thank you.
All of the bad feelings I disappear. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny